Welcome back to Everyday Ricochet. I'm Mike.
And I'm Bobby.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We have been away for way too long.
Yes, it's been a long time since we've been behind these microphones.
We appreciate you all reaching out and asking us if everything's okay. Everything is great. We didn't plan originally this. We haven't been back on the air since June, and we didn't really plan that this way. Things just kind of...
Life happened.
Yeah.
A lot of life happened.
Exactly. You're 100% right. We did not plan to take a break. We come home. I came home from work just as normal from traveling, and we would do our podcast on the weekends. Well, during the week, I'm training, I'm teaching, and
And you're talking.
I get laryngitis. So when I come home, that's great for you. You didn't have to listen to me. But when I come home, I couldn't talk.
Yeah, that wouldn't make for a good podcast.
And so I got better on Sunday, or almost better, and then I'm back on the road on Monday and all over again. So with that being said, we couldn't do the podcast. And then I got the crucial call from a friend of mine that said, Mike, your podcast, I don't mean to be a critic, but your podcast is not sounding right. And it floored me.
Because we thought it sounded pretty good from listening to us in our headphones.
And we listen to, of course, I check it on iHeartRadio and Apple Podcast and all these other sites. However, I was doing it in our studio with the headphones on. So everything blended just perfectly. And when I did what he suggested I do,
Listen to it the way he listened.
oh my, I owe you all an apology for the sound. I worked so hard to make sure the sound sounds perfect. And here it was, we were putting out episodes that the music was too high, the voices were too low.
And then the ads were blasting your eardrums.
Yeah, and it shocked me and embarrassed me. So I had a talk with Bobby, and I just said, listen, we're not going to do any more podcasts right now. We need to figure this out. So with the help of a bunch of people over a couple of weeks, even months, I reached out to some of the biggest podcasters out there and teachers of podcast, and they all responded excellent. And they came back and advised us to do certain changes, and so we implemented that.
And we hope that you're hearing this much better now.
Yeah.
We're really working hard on getting it right.
And I can say that we jumped in head first, or feet first, if that's the term, when we first started this podcast. And to be quite honest, I thought I was well-versed in how this should all go, and I wasn't. I was missing the boat quite a bit. And I don't think that I'm perfect on this. It's a continuous change each week, and we hope that we bring you the best content, and we hope that...
And the quality is good.
Yeah, it's perfect for you all to listen to. We want it to be
comfortable to listen to us, not where you have to take your earphones out before your eardrum bursts.
Right. So we made these changes, and so then... as we were getting ready to do the podcast, something else happened in our life. Again, life happened, and we moved. We moved about 2.5 hours away from our original home, and due to my job, I knew that, Bobby and I knew this in advance. We thought that it might happen pretty quick, and then it didn't. It kind of stalled, and when I took this position, we thought we were going to move right away.
Right.
And then
because the position stated that you had to be in the Cincinnati area. That had to be your home.
Right.
And we lived in the Louisville area. And it was something that we were excited about. We'll get a change. And then we would start to look in different places in different areas, and we didn't know anything about the areas. Never been there.
So we finally stopped and took a look at a really nice place and put on a waiting list. And then here, lo and behold, in September, wasn't it?
We moved at the beginning of September.
Yeah, we got the call that we were ready to move. So we packed up and we moved, which was in itself a blessing, because if we would have moved just a few months later or a month later,
yes, it would have been in the snow
in
that's
the
out
Midwest
there right now.
yeah, the Midwest, it went from summer to almost a day or two of fall and then winter.
Then winter, we got snowed on.
So everything has been settled. We've made some changes. We've made some changes to our website, to the hosting sites, and to our editing sites, and
into our location.
so it's been a big change. But that's life. That's how we do things. And that's why we have this podcast, is because everything is not always hunky dory. I really was having a lot of anxiety because I started this, and Bobby can explain. Once I get something in my head, I go for it.
Yes.
And I feel a personal connection, believe it or not, to everyone that makes a comment or hits the like button on Facebook or Instagram.
And he takes it personally in the way that he feels like he's letting people down if it isn't perfect.
Yes, you're exactly right. And I'm all in. And I've been all in on a bunch of things in my life. Really, I have. You know that. Mm-hmm. But this podcast, I can't sleep.
I know. It's your heart and soul now.
It's my passion. And I used to pass that passion word around quite a bit. Oh, my hobbies are my passion. My work is my passion. And those things are. But this podcast, I can't stop thinking about it. I'm always looking for a better way to make it sound great and reach out to thousands of people, because when we started this, I started it almost because of work. Oh, no, that's where the idea came from. I was going to actually do it for work. And after talking to a few people, we decided that's not the best thing to do right at that moment.
Right. That wasn't the best avenue.
And so, as we said before, I didn't want to let this go. I just thought it was something that I'd really want to try. And Bobby and I talked about it, and she was on board.
Well, this was a long time coming because I'm very reluctant to try new things. I'm not a risk taker, but we did it.
And so now that we started doing this, we don't want to stop doing it.
It's almost like our baby.
Right.
We have to nurture it. We have to care for it and love it and put it out there for everybody to hear.
Yep. And so we made the move. We're settled. As I said earlier, we're settled, and we're looking forward to being persistent, to be consistent, correct, and making sure that we give you guys the best content we can give.
Right.
Because we would not have this. We would not be doing this if we didn't get the feedback that you did.
And speaking of feedback, I want to recognize Greg Hicks.
Oh my goodness.
He's the one that's been pushing us and helping us and, sometimes dragging us along through the summertime, because he says, guys, I want more. Give me more. I love it.
So Greg Hicks is one of my best friends in Tennessee. We've been friends for, 25 years, I think. And that was the one person that I thought wouldn't hear our podcast.
Yeah, he's not into technology.
Yeah,
so.
And I just thought he would be the one that wouldn't hear it, and he would pat me on the back for encouragement and then move on. But he was calling me and texting me almost weekly saying, I got to get some of that Everyday Ricochet. Where's the next episode? And
we modified, we changed the website. And I'm going to take credit for it because I had no idea how to put a website together. And I learned. And there's still things that I have to change. Yeah. But once we got that website up, we didn't even know anybody was looking at it yet. And he was saying, oh, I love the new website. I love the blog. But when are you going to put out a podcast episode?
So here it is, Greg Hicks. Our Welcome Back podcast is dedicated to you.
Yes. Our number one fan.
Yeah. So thank you, Greg. And yeah, so when we started getting these emails and messages and likes and whatever happens out there, it just makes me thankful that we have this. the hard thing about this is we don't, other than the messages back and the emails, we don't have any other communication with our friends out there, our
Right.
listeners. So we were encouraged when we get to look at the stats and see that we're being heard in California.
And it helps encourage us to do more, because sometimes when you're sitting here behind this microphone, you know what's going on. You're making this podcast. You see it on the computer, what it looks like in waves, and then you send it out, and it's humbling because you have no idea what it's doing, where it's going, if anybody else is out there listening to it at all.
And then we pull up the map and the stats, and we're like,
And there's people listening, and it's not just our friends. I'm not even sure a lot of our friends listen, which I'm going to have to take up with them. But
well, it's funny because when we started looking at the stats to find out who's listening, where are they listening, I figured it would be in a lump sum of Tennessee and Kentucky because we were telling all of our friends and
Right.
family. That wasn't the case. We've had a few listeners in Kentucky, a lot of them, but they're spread all over the country.
I know it shocked me. I was like, wait a minute, there's people in California?
So after 1,000 listeners, then you say, okay, well, that's not our family listening, right?
We don't have that many friends.
Yeah. But so anyways, we're going to talk today just about our little hiatus, as Bobby said, some of the things in our website that's changed, so you guys know about it, and then we'll just get on to life in our next podcast. So
Right.
as Bobby mentioned earlier, we have a new we have a new website. It's www.everydayricochet.com. It's the same website that we always have.
Yeah.
But the content's different. The look is different. And we're going to be posting. Bobby has started a blog up there, and we're still working on the time frames of when she's going to do that, but it's there. And then we're going to be selling some of our merchandise on there, or as the grandkids call merch.
Yeah. They want the merch on there.
And then we're looking at just some different things to do. You can go to our website and listen to the podcast.
Yes, because we're going to have a media player on there. That's one of the things that I'm working on, that and the shop
Right.
for our merchandise.
So that you'll see a change there. But other than that, we hope that everything seems flawless on
Yes.
your side,
Yes.
and continue to grow.
Yes. And so, speaking of growing, our family is growing bigger and bigger. We had the chance to spend some almost one-on-one time with some of our grandkids this summer, and it was great.
So we have 7 grandchildren and 3 daughters, and 2 of them are married, and Bree, our youngest, is not.
And she has no children.
She's no children, correct. And so with the 7 grandkids, we get them all in different times. And,
In a lump sum, usually.
yeah, and then we get them in a lump sum. And we love it. Oh, man, I love having them here. Mm-hmm. But then we feel like, after they leave, well, we didn't spend this much time with this one or this.
Right. We
Or-
didn't get to do what that one wanted to do.
Garrett
and-
didn't get this time, or whoever. And so Bobby came to me and she said, hey, wouldn't it be good if we took each grandchild,
Or even 2 at a time.
or 2 at a time, out of town and spent just some quality time at a hotel, give them the experience of staying in a hotel and just spending one-on-one, going swimming, whatever they want to do.
And we did it, and it was great.
It was so fun, and the look on their faces. I didn't like it at first. I got to admit, I like when the grandkids are all together. I love it.
Yeah.
It's because I feel like we're doing something special with
Well, and
with
they
them.
just fill your heart so much that
Yeah.
it's just so, they just grab hold of you.
And so when one is not here,
it
it makes
feels
me
like you're missing out.
like they're missing out
Right.
too. And they didn't get that special moment with
But
Mama
they-
and Papa.
But we took turns so that they got the time.
Right.
And I don't care what anyone says. The best time when one of your grandchildren spends the night with you is getting ready for bed. When they're getting ready for bed and you're talking about things and you turn the light down low so they're getting in the mind
You say
frame.
your little prayer with them.
Yes,
Yeah.
and